back inside!
Just one question. Do you think it's over, Sidney? Do you?
Now, I'm not one to question a legit, bona fide horror master, especially one who literally saved and influenced the genre on 3 different occasions. Yes, folks, I said 3 different occasions. As a matter of fact, it was 3 different occasions in 3 different decades with 3 different types of horror movies. In 1972, the world was shocked and haunted by The Last House on the Left, a film that pushed boundaries so far that many who saw it found themselves a little more scared of the quote-unquote real world. In 1984, the slasher subgenre was pushed into maximum overdrive with the legendary Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street, a film that to this day stands tall amongst countless horror films with the word iconic cemented to it. And in 1996, the horror genre was on life support until Scream came to save the day. Its reach and popularity still extends 30 years later. Scream changed horror and began a franchise that truly sliced and diced its way into history. A third film was inevitable and almost expected. Enter director Wesley Earl Craven, tasked with finishing what was at the time thought to be a trilogy of greatness. The question is, could he achieve the scares the fans wanted, or would they check out early just like Cotton when he and Christine were picked as opening targets of Ghostface? Let's get down to brass tacks. Welcome to my Why You Hate video series dissecting films, the good and the bad of them. Check out the Why You Hate playlist for a great horror discussion, and then check it out again. It's not going to hurt, I promise. Isn't that right, Billy Zane?
Fuck this cowboy shit!
I'm going to go over some reasons why some fans have issues with Scream 3, and I know this will be a strong debate in this community for the lovers of this film and the detractors of it.
You're cocked, locked, and ready to rock.
So get ready to not see much of Sidney Prescott until the second half of the film, see the comedy turned up to 1000%, watch some awesome and also some horrible kill scenes, and understand why Roman Bridger is the best Harry Potter Ghostface of all time. Here are the reasons why you hate Scream 3. Number 1. Story. Because of the Columbine massacre, the controversy and media hype around the time about whether or not violent video games and movies are responsible, the producers were pressured into toning down the film's violence. And at one point, the studio attempted to demand for no blood to be seen in the film at all. As such, the film is a bit more satirical and comedic than the first 2. Notice how stab wounds are rarely ever shown on screen, and the heaviest gore scenes involve the aftermath of the killings. Also, no teenagers are introduced in the cast to be killed for obvious reasons, making this the tamest and the least gory Scream film in the entire series. Although credit has to be given, there were some kills in this film, whereas in Scream 6, a lot of people survived.
Bullshit!
Wes Craven also encountered repeated conflicts over censorship with the MPAA regarding violence. At one point, the studio suggested that the new film show no blood or on-screen violence at all, at which point Wes Craven threatened to walk. Craven stated in an interview that these issues truly made him consider leaving the horror genre altogether forever. It's very interesting because the MPAA, as we all know, was the bane of the existence of 80s horror films, especially Friday the 13th. They hated New Jersey. We all knew it. But to see them come after a horror master such as Wes Craven at this point in the year 2000, it's pretty amazing. The MPAA is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Back the fuck off!
In an attempt to tone down the on-screen violence, this film only used 10 gallons of fake blood. Now remember that, only used 10 gallons of fake blood. In contrast to the 30 gallons of fake blood that was used in Scream 2 from 1997 and the first Scream film in 1996, which used 50 gallons of fake blood. Scream 3 had a budget of $40 million, which was $25 million more than Scream and $16 million more than Scream 2, and it was shot over a period of 12 weeks. Famed screenwriter Kevin Williamson was unavailable to return to his writing duties due to scheduling conflicts with Dawson's Creek in 1998, The Faculty in 1998, Halloween H2O in 1998, and directing Teaching Mrs. Tingle in 1999. But he did write an outline for the film. Aaron Kruger all but ignored the outline. That was not smart. And his script was written mostly on the fly, with pages usually completed the day that they were to be filmed. The truth of the matter is that the film's production was rushed because the Weinstein brothers were unwilling to wait for Kevin Williamson to become available to write the screenplay, which led them to hiring Kruger to do the script. His initial drafts were so bad that Wes Craven himself had to step in for some rewrites, as his characterization for the returning characters barely resembled them from the first two films. It got to a point where Bob Weinstein fired Kruger and had him script Reindeer Games in 2000 instead. Another interesting point is that Kruger hadn't actually seen the prior Scream films before working on this one.
Oh shit!
But he accepted the screenwriting duties out of a desire to work with Wes Craven. The film was shot in such secrecy that the cast only saw their parts of the script the previous night, and some scenes would stop in the middle to keep the killer's identity secret. The production was constantly troubled with script delays and scheduling difficulties. New pages of the screenplay were being delivered on a daily basis. Now, as we all know by now, the finished story that we saw in the film was not the original plan. In a 2009 interview, Matthew Lillard claimed that he had been contracted to reprise his role as the primary antagonist, Stu Macher, having survived his apparent death in Scream, orchestrating new Ghostface attacks from prison on high school students and ultimately targeting Sidney. Following the Columbine High School massacre shortly before production began, the script was scrapped. It was rewritten without his character and this plot to avoid development of a film which associated violence and murder with a high school setting. After all the dust was settled, the story took place 3 years after the events of Scream 2. The film's story follows Sidney Prescott, who has gone into self-imposed isolation following the events of the previous two films, but is drawn to Hollywood after a new Ghostface begins killing the cast of the film within a film, Stab 3. The new setting in Hollywood, far from Woodsboro, provided some freshness, but the tone did little to allow it to feel dangerous. Unfortunately, the tone was shifted a lot more to the comedy, and while there was a lot of fun to be had within the film, the fear and the tension were lesser than the OG and Scream 2. The shakeup of the cast could be seen as a negative because Sidney is separated from the main cast for half of the film. The OG 3, as they are called, aren't even together on screen until 1 hour into the movie. The positive of this, though, is the focus on Gail, Dewey, Jennifer, and the other supporting cast, which had a lot of great moments. Number 2. Characters. The opening scene with Cotton was very intense and a crafty setup for a Scream opening. No one expected Cotton to die. In my mind, Scream 2 truly gave his character weight and showed what Lee's range was. I didn't want him to die, and perhaps that's why the opening is very powerful and also underrated. Kelly Rutherford was cast after filming had begun, as the production was undergoing constant rewrites, and the opening scene evolved from requiring only a female corpse to needing a live actress with whom Lee could interact with. He was the one that came up with the idea of having his character of Cotton be killed off in the opening scene, which he now deeply regrets. Throughout this movie, the actors and actresses of the film Stab 3, the movie within the movie, complain about rewrites in 3 different scripts. The complaints actually originated with the real cast of this movie because of frequent rewrites and 3 different endings. The supporting cast has strengths and weaknesses. Tom's character is pretty standard, meaning downright bland.
Expel them!
Dewey, he is not. Tyson has some moments where his personality and jokes click, but overall, he's not that much better, and he wasn't given much to do except to look like a red herring for like 2 seconds. Sarah was a bit better, but even the natural comedic talents and charm of Jenny McCarthy couldn't save this character. Part of that can definitely be blamed on the script. She wasn't given much to do, and also her death scene started off tense but was anticlimactic. At around 24 minutes, Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg, who was 27 years old at the time, played a 35-year-old who complains about having to play a 21-year-old. Kate Hudson was cast, but replaced prior to the commencement of principal photography. This movie is listed among Hudson's credits on the back cover of the VHS box of Desert Blue, 1998. The role in which Hudson was cast is unknown, but speculation is that it was either Christine or Sarah. Emily Mortimer was interesting as Angelina, providing many moments of intrigue and suspicion. She was so innocent one minute, and then the next so weirdly intense. Credit to Emily for a great range. Her freakouts were also to die for. Undoubtedly, the standout supporting character was Parker Posey as Jennifer. Every scene she was in was absolute money. Her timing and delivery kept things fresh, especially in the absence of Sidney. At around 47 minutes in Scream and Scream 2, Gale Weathers is punched in the face by Sidney Prescott. In this movie, Jennifer Jolie, who is playing Gale Weathers in Stab 3, is punched in the face by the real Gale Weathers. Tia Leone was a strong contender for the role of Jennifer Jolie and was called back several times during casting, but filmmakers ultimately decided Parker Posey was more suitable and was cast instead. At one point, Gale makes a comment that Jennifer Jolie was in a relationship with Brad Pitt. Coincidentally, the two actresses her character is named after are Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie, both of whom would be married to Brad Pitt at certain points after this film's release. Here are some more interesting, almost casted actors for Scream 3. Selma Blair was considered for the role of Jennifer Jolie. Kate Winslet, Shannon Doherty, and Charisma Carpenter were close contenders for the part of Christine. Paul Walker, Josh Hartnett, and James Vanderbeek were considered for the role of Tom Prince. Liv Tyler and Jennifer Connelly were considered for the role of Christine Hamilton. Alicia Silverstone was offered the role of Angelina Tyler, but turned it down. Ironically, Scream in 2022, also known as Scream 5, would reveal that in-universe, Silverstone played the Stab version of Tatum, originally played by Rose McGowan. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Katie Holmes, Tracy Middendorf, and Christina Ricci were also considered for Angelina. Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey, was included in the climax at the producer's insistence after they realized he disappeared before the third act, and his arc went nowhere otherwise. Kincaid was fine, but he didn't really do anything special when you get right down to it, and he got his ass handed to him in the finale not once, not twice, but 3 times.
And you blew it! You blew it!
It's reminding me of a certain other guy in a horror movie that just can't fight. Dewey and Gale were great as usual, and this film leaned on them quite a bit. This was a strength and not a weakness, as their chemistry has always been stellar. The comedy and romance between them was on point, and they had some of their best moments as the characters in the whole franchise. Except Gale's hair, that was not stellar. Not at all. Neve Campbell's contract allowed her to be on set for just 20 days, which is why Sidney has less screen time than in other films. As a result of her role being reduced, more emphasis was put on the supporting characters. Campbell's availability only amounted to 3 weeks in total, forcing the filmmakers to shoot around her schedule. She was concurrently shooting Drowning Mona in 2000 and Party of Five during the production of this film. Because her Drowning Mona character had long streaked hair, Campbell had to wear a wig to play Sidney Prescott, which required 2 hours of application time each morning. Sidney was written in earlier drafts of the script to have been suicidal, in addition to suffering nightmares and PTSD. There was a scene in the script where Sidney goes to the bathroom and checks out her scars on her wrist from a failed attempt, but this was written out in later drafts. Thank goodness for that. Sidney may have less screen time in Scream 3, but her presence is felt and it's very strong. The story is a good continuing arc that finds her trying to help others that have gone through traumatic events. She gets pulled back into the action in the middle of a well-crafted mystery concerning her mother. Sidney was great every time she was on screen and showed exactly why she is among the royalty of all final girls. Number 3. Ghostfaces. The only film in the series to feature Ghostface using a voice changer to imitate other voices perfectly as a way to mess with his victims. This was a source of criticism for viewers and critics, as the series had mostly been grounded in reality until this point, and such technology veered dangerously close to science fiction territory. When Gale Weathers and Dewey Riley discover the Ghostface costume and voice changer in the closet, Gale speaks into the voice changer 3 times. The third and final voice she speaks is Roman Bridger's, the real killer. Scott Foley revealed that he didn't actually learn he'd be playing Ghostface until over a week into shooting. He said, quote, "This was a hot movie back in the day. It was the WB days, and I was so excited to get this role. I will tell you, and I will never forget the moment having already been cast, and it was maybe my second week on the film, and I was talking with Marianne Magdalena, who is Wes Craven's producing partner at the time, and they were all sort of laughing, and I felt like there was an inside joke that I wasn't a part of. Someone said something, and then Marianne said, 'You know what we're talking about, right?' And I sort of smiled and I said, 'I have no idea what anybody's talking about.' And she said, 'You're the killer.' I will never forget. Wes Craven had his New York Times crossword in his hand folded up and looked at me over the top of his glasses when Marianne said it, just to gauge my reaction. And I don't know if I was happy or taken aback, but it was such a specific moment for me. And I think partially because having that sort of information as an actor can help you, and I understand why they kept it from me initially, but it was exciting, yeah. And to this day, I'm still like, hey, you were the killer in Scream 3. I had no idea. It's so cool." End quote. Now, for all the Harry Potter fans out there, let's talk about Roman and how he was able to move from place to place, multiple places at the same time, supposedly.
Bullshit!
In Wes Craven's audio commentary on the DVD and Blu-ray, Angelina is stated by him to have been the second killer. The scene revealing her survival and allegiances was cut from the finished film. Craven explained that the scene in the film where Sidney came across Angelina wearing Ghostface gear in the bathroom, Angelina's excuse being that she was sneaking props off the set, was Sidney unknowingly actually having caught Angelina in the act of getting into her Ghostface costume. Craven left it ambiguous in the final cut if Angelina had genuinely been betrayed and murdered by Roman, her accomplice, after wandering off to change into her Ghostface costume, or if she had survived and faked her death to clear her name. The fact that her body disappears is rather suspicious. Yeah, no shit. That's never happened in a Scream film before or since, and it never will.
It is not in the file. It is not.
A clue that supports this is that the Scream Trilogy DVD box set released shortly after this film had a booklet written by Craven, and it includes a page listing all of the dead characters in the film. Angelina is mysteriously absent even though she died, quote-unquote, on screen. It was either a genuine mistake or proof that Angelina indeed faked her death. If so, that makes her the only ghost face in the series to get away with their crimes. And in retrospect, probably the smartest ghost face of all time. Also on the DVD commentary, Wes Craven said that the producers didn't like the idea of Angelina as the second killer, as this was part of an incestuous fantasy subplot with Roman, who thought of having sex with Angelina as having sex with Sidney herself. The change was also to distance the film further from Columbine's shooting, so as to not have 2 killers working together just like the real killers of said tragedy. Due to Angelina Tyler no longer being the second killer in the film, this caused a plot hole with Roman Bridger being the only killer. He's somehow able to travel very long distances and practically teleport to different locations to commit all of these implausible murders, and in many of these instances, Angelina was unaccounted for, as she was going to be the killer when Roman wasn't around. Hints of Angelina being the second killer still remain in the film. All you have to do is watch closely. Emily Mortimer as Angelina was genuinely surprised when she found out near the end of the production that she was not revealed as the second killer, as she filmed all of her scenes under the impression that she would be unmasked as Roman's accomplice. If you pay attention to Angelina's actions during the Stab 3 wrap-up party, you can see that she acts rather suspicious, coming in and going out constantly, and mysteriously vanishing when the house explodes. And she also started to mysteriously step to the side right before the house exploded, only to reunite with everyone after they tumbled down the hill. She was supposed to be the one who turned on the gas stove that caused the explosion. While Roman was off killing Stone, Roman would still be responsible for cutting the power and faxing script pages to the characters inside of the house, which would actually be impossible if you think about it because the power was cut. This is why Angelina wandered away from everyone before they all tumbled down the hills and walked down safely to meet up with everyone, because she knew when the explosion would happen. You can see it for yourself seconds before the explosion goes off. It's also worth noting that she was ignoring Dewey's question on how she got all the way over there by having hysteria over Tom's death. Roman faking his own death has been singled out for criticism ever since the film's release. The fact that he's the only killer in the film makes his fake death seem very far-fetched to pull off, as nobody could have helped him stage it, along with the fact that Gale checked his pulse and seemingly verified that he's dead. Wes Craven tried to explain this plot hole by saying that there are ways to slow down your pulse in real life without causing death, but such an explanation is never given in the film. If you pay close attention, the party scene in the mansion still contains those strong hints that Angelina was the second killer. When everyone first arrives at the mansion, Roman and Angelina are already there, and it's their idea to split up everybody to give them an opportunity to dress up as Ghostface and attack everyone. Angelina would have assisted Roman in faking his own death. Angelina's death, where her body is mysteriously dragged away as Gale and Jennifer look on in horror, was intentionally shot with a sense of ambiguity, according to Patrick Lussier in the audio commentary, who called her death scene dubious. This was to still leave a suggestion that she is a Ghostface, as it wouldn't be the first time a Ghostface faked their own death to clear their name. She would have come back and revealed herself alive after Sidney arrives at the mansion, according to the original script. Her death scene was originally intended to be a fake-out. But to me, here is one of the biggest pieces of evidence that there were two Ghostface killers. The Stab 3 set attack, where Sidney is chased by Ghostface, was written with the plan of there being two killers. Angelina would be the one to lure Sidney to the set, chase her up the stairs, and Roman would attack Sidney from the window after she barricades the door. Sidney is then attacked by Angelina upon re-entering the set when she bursts out of the closet. Now, here's the thing. If it was only Roman, why would he be running after Sidney right behind her basically, and then take a detour to go around into the back of the set and then to come out of the closet? It makes absolutely no sense at all. So after Angelina bursts out of the closet, Roman would be in costume in the bloody body bag to scare Sidney when she heads upstairs. Notice how after Sidney throws Ghostface down onto the second floor from the trap door, she goes to the stairs banister to check that they aren't coming back. Then immediately after, she enters the set version of Maureen's room with the bloody body bag, which is revealed seconds later to have Ghostface inside, ready to scare her, making it impossible for it to have been the same killer who was thrown down the trap door. This is about as clear-cut as it can be that there were two killers in Scream 3. Also of note, Roman's gear. Dewey and Gale find Roman's gear and tools to suit up as Ghostface in the closet, including the costume and the voice changer that allows him to imitate other voices perfectly. However, Ghostface evidently has another one, as the voice is heard when they're attacking other characters, even though Gale took the one from the closet. Why on God's green earth would Roman need a second one if he's the only killer?
What the fuck?
Well, the other one belongs to Angelina.
Have you seen my silhouette?
Number 4. Kills. The kills in general were a bit of a letdown, and that's putting it lightly. Cotton and Jennifer's death scene were the standouts, and also Roman's last stand. The explosion was good, but then again, when aren't explosions good? As Roman is shown to be the only killer in this film, all of the murders are his doing. Since there are 9 supposed victims, he would have had the highest kill count out of all the Ghostface killers. However, going by the fact that Angelina is his accomplice, then it's still possible to deduce which of the 2 committed which murders and which one was active. Cotton Weary and Christine Hamilton. In the final cut, it's very obvious Roman killed them both, as the new opening scene is a reshoot that was meant to firmly establish one killer. In the alternate opening, it is more apparent that it is 2 killers, as one killer was still talking to Cotton on the phone as he discovered Christine's corpse in the closet before he is ambushed by another killer who has no phone. Angelina likely killed Christine and used her voice on the phone while Roman killed Cotton. Sarah Darling. Roman calling her would be Angelina's cue to attack and kill her, as she is hiding in the closet amongst Ghostface costumes on a rack. If Roman had been calling Sarah from inside the office, she definitely would have heard it. An unused shot from the deleted scenes shows that somebody is spying on Sarah from the rooftop as she enters the building, which would mean that there's 2 killers. Sidney's phone call. Roman, prior to this scene, had been taken into police custody for questioning, which would make it unlikely that he called Sidney with Maureen's voice to scare her. Angelina could have made the call by taking Dewey's phone from him, or Jennifer, who also uses it while he was distracted to steal Sidney's number. Stephen Stone's phone call and death. Ghostface calls Stephen and uses Dewey's voice to distract him long enough to sneak up on him and kill him. The Ghostface who attacks literally in the middle of the call has no phone, meaning Angelina made the call while Roman killed him. Tom Prince. Angelina turning on the gas stove that led to explosion would make her responsible for his death. Technically, one could say they both killed Tom, as Angelina set up the trap and Roman simply sent the bait, which was the script pages in the fax machine. Sidney's attack on the Stab 3 set. Once again, this scene makes it obvious that there's 2 killers. Ghostface keeps popping up out of each nook and cranny to attack Sidney as if they can teleport. Harry Potter! Which is obviously impossible if there's only 1 killer. Shortly before the scene occurs, Sidney also walked into Angelina supposedly stealing props from the set, including the Ghostface mask, and she mysteriously vanishes upon leaving the washroom. Angelina, being the second killer, would reduce Roman's kill count to 7, or possibly even lower if he didn't actually kill Angelina and she only faked her death to escape undetected. Number 5. The finale. The finale was easily a highlight of the film because of the great setting. I mean, Milton's pad is literally straight out of a Scooby-Doo episode. There are secret passageways, creepy basements, and false mirrors galore. What more tomfoolery could a Scream fan ask for? Also, it was a great showdown with Sidney and her newfound brother. Now yes, tacking on the sibling angle in horror is great, and it always works, right? Right? Okay, so it might have been a little lazy, but Scott Foley was great in this role. He was the villain and we all knew it. Plus his mastermind plan kicked a lot of ass. The fight with Sidney was great, and man, seeing Neve go apeshit was fun. Revenge is a dish best served cold, bro. The last scenes with Sidney was an absolute home run that should have ended her story for good. We also had a great ending for Gale and Dewey with their romantic engagement. All of it was absolutely destroyed by Scream 4.
And you blew it! You blew it!
But that is another story. An alternate opening was written for the film, but never filmed. The opening scene contained Sidney Prescott and a friend of hers alone in her house, in a different state, getting ready to watch a video. Unbeknownst to Sidney, the killer calls Sidney and her friend claiming that he is in the house watching them, which turns out to be true. The killer jumps out from a closet and attempts to attack a frightened Sidney and her friend. Sidney, however, pulls out a gun and shoots the killer several times. Upon unmasking him, the killer turned out to be a fan who was pulling a prank on Sidney. There was another idea for Jamie Kennedy to reprise his character Randy Meeks. It was to have him survive the stabbing in Scream 2 his family having rescued him secretly. This was ultimately deemed to be too far-fetched, so Randy was resurrected via a post-mortem video appearance instead. On August 15, 2023, a black and white VHS copy of a 1999 assembly cut was leaked online. It has a runtime of 2 hours and 22 minutes. The structure of the cut is largely identical to the finished film. The differences come from the reshoots that occurred. Cotton's opening call is longer, but his encounter with Ghostface at his home is shorter than the final film. Randy's tape is longer with different lines and jokes, and a new scene shows Ghostface downloading voices to a disc that is inserted into the voice box. The ending is shorter, with less of a fight between Sidney and the killer, with her quickly overcoming the killer. It's tough being a legendary final girl in horror though, because when Sidney jumped over the bar and stabbed Roman in the back with the ice pick, Neve Campbell missed the pad that she was supposed to plunge the pick into and actually hit flesh. Scott Foley's scream is genuine. Something similar happened during the first movie when Campbell's character stabs Billy Loomis. They missed the pad that time too and caused Skeet Ulrich intense pain. All of this being said, Scream 3 had a 43% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes as of 2025. This is the worst reviewed film in the series and the only one to receive a rotten score. But at the end of the day, Scream 3 gave us the greatest Harry Potter villain and gave Sidney the best send-off for a final girl ever that was destroyed by Scream 4, and we as fans must deal with it. You have to ask yourself, was this the right direction to go for the ending of the trilogy? Did you want less comedy? Did you want Angelina revealed as the second Ghostface killer? You know that you did. That is a question only you can answer. As always, this video is not here to make you love Scream 3 or to hate it. It's simply a discussion to highlight the history and aspects of it, good or bad, with you, the viewer. So what do you think? Are you a fan? If so, tell us why. If not, let's discuss why you hate Scream 3. If you haven't hit the like button for more content, please do. If you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you like this video, check out my other Why You Hate videos and other content, including live streams here, and I'll see you there. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.
Lose something?
Found something.